Hi there. Now let's go through a work example on journal entries, ledger accounts, and the balance sheet. If you haven't attempted this question yet, you may want to download it from the following URL. Anyway, assuming you have attempted this question, let's solve it together. So let's see. The following accounts are taken from the general ledger of Nikin Private Limited for the month of February 2018. So we have cash account, ordinary share capital, office equipment, accounts payable, inventory, sales, cost of sales, bank loan, account receivable, sales return, utilities, and rent. And here we are required to prepare journal entries for the transaction based on the general ledger for the month of February 2018. Narration is not required. So here, contrary to the accounting flow, I'm asking you to do the reverse this time round. And through this, I hope you have a better understanding of how to prepare journal entries and how the general ledger works. And next, we have to prepare the statement of financial position as at 28 February 2018 for Nikin Private Limited. We see many accounts and many transaction dates. I would list out all the transaction dates so that I do not miss out any transaction. Here are the dates where a transaction has occurred. 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 24, and 26 February 2018. On the 1st of February, you will see a debit entry in the cash account and a credit entry in the ordinary share capital account. So make that into a journal entry. If you check the two accounts, the figure is $90,000. Even though the question do not require a narration, I think it is good if you know what the transaction is about. If cash and ordinary share capital increased by $90,000, it means this is the owner's capital contribution into the business. Next transaction, on the 3rd of February, referring to the respective accounts, cash is debited and bank loan is credited by $20,000. Here, the company borrowed money from a bank since cash and bank loan increased. Next, on the 5th of February, office equipment is debited and accounts payable, Erico Trader, is credited by $7,000. With an increase in office equipment and accounts payable, we know that this is a purchase of an office equipment on account. On the 7th of February, inventory is debited and accounts payable, Niton Trading, is credited by $12,900. Inventories and account payable have increased, so this is a purchase of inventories on account. Moving on to the 9th of February, accounts payable, Niton Trading, is debited and inventory is credited by $6,900. This is a return of unpaid goods to the supplier. 11th February, this transaction is longer and I hope you managed to catch all the accounts affected. First, from the accounts, we saw a debit entry to accounts receivable, Thomas, and a credit entry to sales revenue by $17,000. Next, we saw a debit entry to cost of sales and a credit entry to inventory by $6,000. This is a credit sales transaction. Moving on, 13th February, the accounts show a debit entry to accounts payable, Niton Trading, and a credit entry to cash by $3,300. Here, the business has paid its supplier. 15th February, another long transaction. We saw a debit entry to sales returns and a credit entry to accounts receivable, Thomas, by $9,000. We also saw a debit to inventory and a credit to cost of sales by $3,000. From this transaction, we know that the customer has returned unpaid goods back to the company. Just a side note, when recording sales returns, we debit a new account called sales returns instead of debiting the sales revenue account. This is to allow the business to keep track of sales returns easily, rather than offsetting sales returns to sales revenue. 17th February, from the accounts, we saw a debit cash and a credit accounts receivable, Thomas, by $4,000. The customer has paid the company in this transaction. 19th February, debit utilities expense and credit cash by $2,100. Here, the company incurred and paid utilities expense. 24th February is similar to the previous transaction. This time, it's debit rent expense and credit cash by $5,500. The company incurred and paid rent expense for this transaction. Last transaction for the month, 26th February, debit accounts payable, Erico Trader, and credit cash by $7,000. The company paid its suppliers for outstanding debts. We have completed part A. Now for part B, we need to prepare the statement of financial position as at 28 February 2018. Before we do so, we need to know the closing balances for each of the accounts. I left the balance column blank for you, but I believe the balance column should be quite intuitive. You just offset the debits and credits. Anyway, I will quickly show you the balances for each account. Before we can proceed to do the statement of financial position, we need to calculate retained earnings. Retained earnings is total income minus total expense. For income, we have sales revenue minus sales returns, which is $8,000. For expenses, we have cost of sales, utilities expense, and rent expense, which is a total of $10,600. So our retained earnings is negative $2,600. A negative retained earnings means the business made a loss. Brackets indicate a negative figure in accounting. Now to prepare the statement of financial position, I will draw out the rough format showing the asset side and the liabilities plus equity side. We simply need to fill in the line items and aggregate some account balances together as a single line item where necessary. For cash and cash equivalent, use the closing cash balance of $96,100. For trade and other receivables, use $4,000, the ending accounts receivable balance. We have only one customer in this case. If there is more than one customer, please aggregate their balance and present it as a single line item. Do not list each customer one by one. The inventory's ending balance is $3,000, giving us the following subtotal for current assets. For non-current assets, remember to aggregate all the tangible non-current assets into a single line item, property, plant, and equipment. We only have one office equipment worth $7,000 in this case, so we will put $7,000 on that line. Do not list all the non-current assets here. Aggregate them as a single line item. We will show the detailed list only in the note to the financial statements. This gives us $7,000 total non-current assets and a total asset figure of $110,100. Moving to the liabilities plus equity section, we will aggregate all trade and other payables as a single line item. In this case, we have two payables, but one has a zero balance. If that payables balance is not zero, please aggregate them. Do not list them one by one. In this case, it's $2,700. The company borrowed $20,000 from a bank. Classify that as borrowings under non-current liabilities. This gives us a total liability of $22,700. Next, the equity component. Use the ordinary share capital balance for the share capital line, which is $90,000. We calculated earlier on that the retained earnings is minus $2,600. Bracket indicate a negative figure. Now, we have total equity of $87,400 and the total liabilities plus equity of $110,100, which is the same as the total assets figure. I repeat myself, the total assets must equal total liabilities plus equity. Otherwise, it means there is an arithmetic error. So that's all for this work example. I hope you have a better understanding of how journal entries, ledger accounts, and the balance sheet work through this work example.